Hi everyone, this is my review of the Slash Appetite Les Paul Special 2. I thought it was a good time to do a review of this guitar since there are now quite a few Slash Les Pauls doing the rounds, and this is one which is at the cheaper end, so I thought it would be one that maybe people are going to be interested in knowing a bit more about. I will also link to a playlist of sounds because I play this guitar quite a lot. And yeah, let's get into it. And if you like this, please do think about commenting, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. And yeah, let's go. It's based on a Gibson Les Paul made by luthier Chris Derrig, which in fact is a copy. It's a replica of a Les Paul. So it's got a very strange history, this type of guitar. It's just funny to note that the original guitar is very much not a Les Paul at all, but a rather stunning copy, which apparently a chap called Alan Niven, which was the Appetite era manager for Guns N' Roses, bought for Slash because he wasn't feeling inspired on the guitar he was playing. But hey, that's kind of interesting. Now, the price is something that is worth starting off with because this used to be a pretty cheap guitar. It used to be around sort of $349. Those prices changed sort of late-ish 2021 to $399. The price has broadly stayed the same in the UK depending on what you go for, what the pack is. If you go for the full performance pack, which includes the amp, the bag and the strap and all that good stuff, then that's the one that costs $399. If you just get the guitar, it's going to be cheaper. I've just got the guitar, I haven't got the amplifier that came with it. I've got various amplifiers, so that just wasn't necessary. But I thought it was interesting to note because the price has gone up. So it's no longer super cheap. So it's the kind of guitar you might think, okay, yeah, I'm interested in starting, but there are cheaper options than this. So this is kind of almost going into intermediate level guitar territory now at the price. For a beginner, it's interesting, but for an intermediate as well, it could be an interesting one too, because there is a lot of competition at this end of the market. Now, something you might notice when you get this guitar is it has a hidden gimmick, and that is something I will touch on later and give you a bit more detail on. Something a little bit fun, but I'm going to save that towards the end of the video. So to cover some of the basic specs, the body is made of okami. It's not mahogany like a lot of Epiphones and Gibsons, and the body itself is a lot thinner than a normal Gibson or a full fat Epiphone. That helps it become a lighter guitar, which is good. The top is supposed to be a AAA flame maple veneer. It does look nice. It's not as if it's super mega 3D or anything, but it does look nice and it is very bright. I'm hoping that comes across in the video. This is not a guitar for wallflowers at all. This is a guitar that's definitely going to make you stand out when you play it. The back and the back of the body and the back of the neck is red cherry, which looks nice. And the neck profile itself is a slim tapered D, which I'll cover more in more detail later. And the fingerboard material is Pal Ferro, so not rosewood, not ebony. It's somewhere in between. It feels decent. The 12-inch fingerboard radius, which is what you'd expect for this. It's not the sort of super whizzy flat necks from an Ibanez, and it's not the more rounded stuff from a Stratocaster. It feels nice. Frets medium jumbo. Inlays, they're dots rather than maybe the nice squares or trapezoid which you'd get on other Les Pauls or other Gibsons or other Epiphones. And the major bone of contention, which I think was going to maybe either put some people off or some people aren't going to care, is the fact that it is not a set neck. So I know that for real Gibson purists, a set neck is a must. Having said that, Stratocasters have done it this way for years, and that sounds fine to me. So I'm not personally too bothered about that. The other thing to note in terms of basic specs is this has very much a flat top to it. It hasn't got the carved kind of top that you would probably see normally on a Gibson. The hardware finish is nickel, and it has a lock-tone tunematic bridge and stop bar tailpiece, which is pretty standard. I'll move down to the tuning pegs. which again similarly a nickel. These are pretty standard fare, and later on I'll flip the guitar over and show you those in more detail. The pickups are where this guitar really shines, in my view. It's got two Epiphone Ceramic Plus Zebra Core pickups. They've got a surprisingly good tone. They're not like a Gibson or the Epiphone Les Paul equivalent, like the classics or the vintage kind of 50s style guitars. On those guitars, what you get is really quite a fat, plump, well-rounded, warm kind of sound. This is not what you get from these pickups. These are kind of very high gain pickups, if you like, in comparison to what you might expect. You can get nice, clean and distorted sounds. It sounds powerful, this guitar. When you're wanting sort of shimmering, crystal clear leads, and it almost sounds glassy, but in a good way, and you can get some really clean sounds from this that really cut through a mix without it getting brittle or muddy. This guitar definitely likes a lot of overdrive, which is how I tend to play it. Arguably, these pickups don't have that warmth that you might expect from this style of guitar, but depending on what you're going for, that can be a real positive. I like that because these pickups really never sound muddy. They really like to be driven hard, and I think that's a real plus in this guitar's favour, because if you're doing some slash lead work or any kind of sort of heavy rock stroke metal guitar work, having a guitar which cuts through a mix is really awesome. So I really like these pickups. Now if I look at the tuners, I'll just flip it over gently, and as you can see, they're just very standard tuners. They're apparently Epiphone die-cast 14:1, so they're nothing too amazing. They have a little bit of play in them when you're tuning them, but oh, see, this one is actually quite loose. But having said that, they are remarkably stable, even with a lot of bending on this guitar. So one day, maybe if you wanted to, that's something that you could upgrade, but it's not desperately urgent. So it doesn't have the vintage Keystone tuners on more expensive models, but these absolutely do the job. Turning the guitar back over again, the nut seems to be probably most likely plastic, or it might be synthetic bone. But again, this one just does the job. All I've done in this one, you can probably see, is I've put a bit of graphite in it. Just to show you the flip side, so you can see here what the neck joint looks like. It's fine. Again, it's nothing to get too worried about. Does it affect the tone? Probably. But there's lots of things about this guitar that affect the tone, which means it sounds a lot less overall warm than a standard Les Paul, for sure. It's got that much more kind of crystal clear noise sound to it. What's worth pointing out probably is this. You can see the line here. So there's a wood joint here. I wouldn't quite call it maybe a scarf joint. I don't know, maybe you could. But that possibly helps if you do drop the thing on its head, and might help a little bit with breakages, maybe. So flipping it back over, the volume knob and the treble rhythm switch are absolutely fine. This actually feels really solid, strangely. It's not something I've particularly noticed before with this guitar, but say for example on my Harley Benton EX84, this is pretty loose. This is very firm. Feels nice actually. The tone is absolutely fine as well. It doesn't have much play in it. Everything feels really quite solid in that department. So it's worth touching on the actual profile of the neck too. It's called a slim taper D. This is basically what it looks like at the first fret. So it's quite a nice D shape, and does cup into your hand quite nicely. I personally like it. I'm quite sensitive to that kind of thing in terms of the actual feel of the guitar. To me, that's one of the most important things. This is what it looks like at the 12th fret. So it significantly widens and flattens as you go up the neck. It feels very nice in the palm of your hand, and does give you that purchase for making big bends. So in terms of weight, the guitar comes in at around about 3.39 kilos, or 7.76 or so pounds. It's a nice weight without being too heavy. The fretwork on the guitar is good. On mine there's no sharp fret ends and it feels good and smooth. It doesn't feel rough. It's not as smooth as an ebony fretboard, but it does feel good. I would say that the fretboard on my Harley Benton EX84 does feel smoother and nicer than this overall, but this is by no means a bad fretboard. It's actually pretty decent, and it gives you good upper fret access as well, because this has got 22 frets, and as you can see it's got the nice cutaway here, so you can really get up there. The only thing I'd say about it in terms of comfort, in terms of playability, is it doesn't have a belly cut. I quite like that. It just conforms to your body a bit more and just feels nice to play if it does have it, but it's certainly no deal breaker. Now we can look at the gimmick on this guitar, which I've been saving till pretty much last. As you can see, the guitar has something a bit extra here, which is a tuner. If I can get it switched on, there we are. So you can basically use that to tune your guitar, and if it's green, you're in tune, etc. If it's red, you're way out. So this actually, it does work very well. It's a bit gimmicky because there's tuners all over the place now. Or you can get a tuner on your phone, or a little tuner you can clip onto the end of your headstock. But I think this is quite fun. It is there if it's something which might be useful to you, and it is a little gimmick. And I'll show you the other side of it as well. This is the cavity for the battery. It looks like it could be a cavity for active pickups. I can assure you most definitely is not. These are passives. But this just takes a standard battery. It's a CR2032 battery, which just fits in there. You just slide it straight in there, and away you go. If you do want to have that feature, which is kind of cool. And last but not least, I just wanted to touch on the gig bag. This is what it comes with. It's got the nice Slash logo on it. It's got the Epiphone logo on there too. It's a fine gig bag. It's okay for around the house. It hasn't got much padding at all. I would suggest, I mean, this is literally, I can pretty much touch my my thumb and my fingertip together. That's how thick this is. It really is not thick at all. It's fine for around the house. If you're going to go out gigging, if you're going to go to jams, etc., I'd definitely suggest getting a thicker gig bag than this. But overall, the bottom line, this is an extremely fun guitar to play. I think this is a guitar that you could get as a beginner for sure, and it would grow well with you as you get better. You can upgrade parts, but what's there is absolutely fine. You don't necessarily need to. It does sound really good. It's lightweight compared to its bigger siblings, which is a big plus. It has a slimmer neck, I would say, than a full fat Les Paul. Obviously it depends on which Les Paul you're going to go for, but this doesn't have a super fat neck, but it does have a decent amount of chunk to it, which gives you a nice grip on the neck. So I'd say it's good for small and big hands. It feels thicker and wider than say what you would find on a Slim C Stratocaster like a Fender or a Squier. And the only thing I think it's really missing is a thicker gig bag, if that bothers you. And yeah, the neck, if that really is a problem for you. But overall, I think it sounds awesome. It sounds really, really good. It feels good to play. The pickups are nice and clear and give a very satisfying sound. They really sound clear. I've always found normal, certainly on the normal Epiphone Les Paul standards, I found those pickups usually quite muddy and I have to mess around with the tone quite a lot to get what I want. With this, I plug this straight in and I get myself a nice crisp rock tone, which I really like. I really like that for this. And as you can see, I won't get into it today, but you can see I've top racked this one, which means it makes it even easier to bend. So yeah, you can do that with this bridge setup. So yeah, I think it's all overall there. It's a little bit more pricey than it once was, but I think it's well worth it. And for those keen-eyed among you, you'll see that I've got strap locks on there. Those don't come as standard, but I mean they're very cheap from any online guitar store that you go to, and I think they're well worth having. That's the only real difference I've done to mine. Otherwise, this guitar is completely standard. If you like this video, please do like, comment and subscribe. and I've included a playlist at the end of this video of various sounds from this guitar, as I do play this guitar on a regular basis. Thanks a lot for joining me. Cheers, see you in the next one.